How many of you are ready for butterflies? Me too. Well, I don't know about you, but I have come to expect things like breathable air, drinkable water, and reliable electricity. I have grown accustomed to government institutions serving the public good, even if imperfectly. I've come to expect that the winners and losers of public elections will accept the results as valid, whatever they may be. Normal to me means a fair degree of dysfunction in family systems and people generally telling the truth, obeying the law and court orders, and sometimes, often making mistakes. Normal to me is any and all of the human body's functions, right? And processes, autonomic nervous systems that keep us breathing and our hearts beating, taking in nutrients, using them to learn and grow and do all the things we do, to work and play and sleep, to menstruate and perspire, to pass gas and to excrete waste, to love and reproduce and feel all the emotions, to experience wonder and ask, why? I want to invite you to take a few minutes to engage with one another on this question. I know the introverts hate this. What kinds of things are normal to you? And how do you define what's normal? Go ahead and take 5 minutes. Find someone you know or don't know, and just share with one another what is normal to you. Go. We'll ring the chime when it's time to come back. Folks on Zoom, go ahead and type into the chat. Thank you, everyone. I hope that wasn't too painful. What is normal? Go ahead and summarize. Shout out something.
Chaos.
Chaos is normal now.
It's a word that should always be in quotation marks.
Normal should always be in quotation marks. The sun will rise.
Normal is that the national parks belong to the people of the nation and are for the enjoyment of the generations.
Normal is that our national parks belong to us all and are there for us. Somebody over here.
Normal is that this too shall pass.
Normal is this too shall pass.
Normal is afternoon naps.
Normal is afternoon naps. I hear you.
It's hard to define without experiencing its absence.
Normal is hard to define, except in its absence.
Normal is a statistical thing where it fits under the curve, and the more standard deviations you get away from the center of that curve, the less normal it is.
Thank you, Jim, for a very technical answer. Normal has to do with statistics, and I forget what all you said. It's somewhere on the curve, above and below. You know, there's a range. Yeah, great.
It's different for everyone.
Normal is different for everyone.
To help someone in need.
It's normal to help someone in need.
To be kind.
To be kind. Yeah.
Normal is determined by your culture.
Normal is determined in part by culture. Yeah. How about on Zoom?
Well, we had a lot of interesting conversation. We talked about things like the seasons are normal. So things that we expect that happen over and over again, those are normal. But also normal can get boring or repetitive. It's not necessarily an ideal. But if it's not kind of normal enough, it can become very upsetting because it feels chaotic. We also heard that extremes in behavior are not normal, but that we do think that behaviors do bend toward the good.
Great, thank you. Let's leave it at that. We'll leave the rest for coffee hour. So how we define normal depends on many things, I think we've been saying. Our social location, our age or stage of life, our affluence, our perceived race, geography, ability, gender identity, sexual identity, religious, philosophical, or political beliefs, and the various norms of the various groups to which we belong. Yeah. Here in this fellowship, we do a lot of normalizing. Yeah? We're intentionally making things normal, such as using pronouns, such as knitting in church. Sometimes we normalize subconsciously, such as favoring older folks who tend to have more resources, intellectual needs over emotional needs, or certain physical abilities over others. Sometimes we do. Some of us learned in leadership school or other experiences to normalize best practices, such as assigning roles in meetings, agreeing on a covenant or set of expectations about how we'll be together, making sure we leave room for all voices, the voices we may not often hear, practicing reflective or active listening, practicing equity, and other key values. Unitarian Universalism's first principle,
Inherent worth and dignity of all beings.
affirming the inherent worth and dignity of all beings, is an expression of our living tradition's underlying value of love. It complements the seventh principle,
Web of life.
the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part, an expression of our values of pluralism and interconnection. Here we try to set these norms. We try to model these both here and out in the world. Not always successfully, not always without hardship. We strive to notice our own and others' privilege, to show up when others need help, to serve the greater good, to foster individual and collective growth and fulfillment, and to seek mutual liberation. What would the world be like if enough people expressed or modeled such values in the world? Imagine. Instead, many of us are sensing, experiencing, to use the Mel Brooks term, much that is abnormal in the world, and we don't like it. So what is not normal in our experience? Just shout it out, anything. What's not normal?
Deporting legal residents.
Deporting legal residents. True.
Cruelty.
Cruelty.
Things that offend us morally.
Things that offend us morally. Who is us? 60-degree weather, 70-degree weather in February or March in Michigan.
It's
Someone says it's normal. Perhaps increasingly normal.
celebrating fascism.
Celebrating fascism is not normal. Allegiance to another country's leader. Selling cars on the White House lawn.
Lying, 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 lying.
Nonstop lying. The destruction of democratic institutions is not normal. Elected officials breaking norms and rules and unspoken assumptions or laws, acting to destroy institutions developed to serve the public good, is not normal. Life by its very nature includes pain, suffering, loss, and grief. These are normal. And they highlight one enduring truth about life: impermanence. The Buddhists among us know a thing or two about impermanence. One of the constants, some say the only constant in life, is change. And the truth has been affirmed for millennia, since the time of the ancient Persians, Hebrews, and Buddhists. I'm sure our resident Buddhists would be happy to talk with you about impermanence. Today's story highlighted this in the symbol of a precious ring that bore the wisdom, this too shall pass. This benefit or this hardship shall pass. In May of 1841, Unitarian minister Theodore Parker preached a sermon titled "The Transient and Permanent in Christianity." Parker was a transcendentalist, and he saw divine experience inherent in the everyday. He proudly preached abundant abundant heresies, in his own words, and challenged the Unitarian orthodoxy of his day. This sermon exposed his heartfelt belief that the traditions of historic Christianity did not reveal the truth. He was widely shunned by the Boston elites, and transcendentalism was one of the factors that caused Unitarianism to evolve beyond Christian dogma to embrace theologies and truths from all the world's religions. To this day, Unitarian Universalists have continued to raise the underlying question: what is permanent and what is transient in religion, in our own tradition, and in life itself? There's so much that we humans do not know. Today's pastoral response by the Reverend Van Tyne affirmed a great mystery that grounds us and surrounds us, but that a small spark of life and possibility lives within us, even when all else is crumbling to dust. The prayer named our confusion, fear, and even despair. But the prayer also invited us, despite so much going so wrong, to bear gratitude for our blessings, beauty and joy stubbornly breaking through, the compassionate companionship of community, solidarity, mutual aid, the trees and the wind and the stars. It also reminded us that along with the deep impermanence we experience, there also is deep interconnection, which we also experience. The key affirmation of Unitarian Universalism that each of us is inextricably linked to the interdependence of all beings, all things. And in this we may find comfort. It invited us to open and stretch and join our hearts with the hearts of others who yearn for a freer world, each heart a building block to a better society, each life lived for hope and resistance, a prayer for a nobler world. In today's reading, Reverend Jepka suggested how much we are like butterflies. In the words of Robert Graves, in the idiocy of flight, lurching here and there by guess and God and hope and hopelessness, claiming to one another that we have things under control, to the point that we actually believe it. when honestly, privately, our lives may be filled with long stretches of turbulence and the occasional sudden downdraft. Normal lives include truly awful parts, she wrote, which don't always show on the outside. Times when things go poorly at home or work, when we're feeling our age, when we grieve. Such times can separate us, leaving us feeling alone in our problems. Consider for a moment how many folks at coffee hour are feeling the same kinds of screaming pain or emptiness or entrapment or panic or precariousness or low-grade worry. Consider that. We can and must show one another grace and compassion in these encounters. You just never know what's going on in someone's life, who has developed what illness or injury, who is in legal or financial trouble, who feels left out or unseen or unheard. It can help, Reverend Jepka wrote, to accept the idiocy of flight, the butterfly pattern implanted in the human heart and mind. We can each find solace then when our own lives lurch this way and that, in knowing that we're all up there flying every which way together. Given the impermanence of life, if pain and suffering are normal, then so too are our compassionate care and loving witness to this suffering, our commitment to living out our key values of love, our being present with and for one another. We won't and don't always get it right. Loving is a lifelong practice. In our opening word, in our opening song, I hear the lyrics of Richard Kimball as a prayer, a paean, a song of praise or triumph, expressing the hope that when the storm is over, silence, peace, and tranquility will return. That we might once again lift our gaze toward a more distant view, that we may see with greater clarity, that we might better fathom life's mystery. Maybe not. May move more easily through the winds of eternity, and may join our songs in full symphony. From this circle of vision and reflection, this forum for deciding and empowering, at the base of another bridge spanning the space between today and tomorrow, may we, with a servant's heart, a leader's listening, a parent's love, truer than all our inner trembling, may we affirm the enduring, transforming power of love, the power of community, the power of being present to and with one another, the power inherent in our interconnection. May we make the circle of love and trust wider still. May it be so. And amen.